This episode of The Memory Palace is brought to you by Article. We are big fans of Article here at The Memory Palace. This room of the palace, the ballroom where I'm sitting right now, it's palatial, trust me, is lit beautifully by a legit beautiful lamp from Article. This stuff is of extraordinarily high quality. It is truly lovely furniture that's influenced by, mid-century modern and Scandinavian styles. I have a feeling you're really going to like it. If you've never checked it out before, summer and warmer weather is right around the corner here in the Northern Hemisphere. And they really have fantastic outdoor furniture. It's totally worth checking out. Go to article.com and take a look. The stuff looks great, and it is made with all these outdoor-friendly materials like teak and acacia wood and granite and galvanized steel and rattan, and it comes to you with a flat delivery fee of $49, regardless of what you're buying and how big the order is. So go to www.article.com/memorypalace and get $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. That is www.article.com/memorypalace. Go check it out. The Memory Palace is brought to you by Rate Marketplace. If you're a homeowner, did you know it takes just minutes to see if you're eligible to save up to $4,000 a year? Rate Marketplace is a home financing engine that uses a fast and easy online process. With Rate Marketplace, you can drop the paperwork and in a few minutes get a custom mortgage solution from your phone or computer. If you want to get started and see your savings at ratemarketplace.com/memorypalace. That's ratemarketplace.com/memorypalace. They are an equal housing lender. MLS number 1137890. This is The Memory Palace. I'm Nate DiMeo. 6 scenes from the life of William James Sidis. Wonderful boy. 1. If you lived in a one-dimensional world, you'd be a single point on a line. You could move forward and backward, and that would be it. So if you were walking down that straight line, and there was someone in your way, you'd be stuck. You couldn't walk around them because there's no left or right in a one-dimensional world. There is in a two-dimensional world. And if you lived in a two-dimensional world, you could move left and right, and you could move backward and forward. But if you were walking around and you ran into a wall, again you'd be stuck, because there's no up or down in a two-dimensional world. Now, of course, there is in our three-dimensional world. You can climb over things, you can walk around them. But if you were trapped in a box, in a cell, with no windows or doors, you'd be stuck. Not if you lived in a four-dimensional world. In a four-dimensional world where you could step right out of the box, you could walk through the walls of the cell. No walls could hold you. The rules of our three-dimensional world that say you can only move in variations of up and down, combinations of forward and back and left and right, they wouldn't apply to you. And that's strange and hard to get your head around. Fourth dimensional space is a theoretical abstraction that mathematicians and physicists find useful in ways that non-mathematicians like me are just going to have to trust them on. On a snowy night in January 1910, a lecturer at Harvard defined fourth dimensional space this way: a speculative realm of incomprehensibly involved relationships. But on that snowy night in January 1910, the speaker did his best to make them comprehensible. He used diagrams. He coined words like parallelopodon and hecatonic saharodon. And at the end of the talk, a distinguished professor from MIT stood around answering questions from reporters. The professor predicted that the lecturer, William James Sidis, would become one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century. Sidis, meanwhile, went home. It was past his bedtime. He was 11 years old. 2. Boris Sidis had been on a trip to Chicago for a symposium. He was a renowned Harvard psychologist, and he had been away from his wife Sarah and their 3-year-old son William James for about a week. He came home on his birthday, just in time for a celebratory dinner with family and friends. And young William James, young Bill, then 3 years old, had a gift for his dad. He walked into the dining room and presented his father with a copy of Caesar's account of the Gallic Wars in its original Latin. But the book wasn't the gift. The gift was that Bill could read it. The gift was that in the week his father had been away in Chicago, 3-year-old Bill had taken his mother's old Latin textbook off the shelf and taught himself Latin. His father was pleased, though not necessarily surprised. He had been training Bill. From birth, little Bill had been both beloved son and guinea pig in his father's psychological experiments. There was no doubt that the boy was exceptionally bright. His parents were, their parents were. But Boris Sidis believed there was extraordinary genius there. Believed that if his son drilled enough, and as his father, if he answered every question, encouraged every interest, he could unleash an unparalleled intellect. And the people who gathered to celebrate Boris's birthday, the people who heard 3-year-old Bill read about the power struggle between the Avreni and Sequani tribes of Gaul in the 1st century before the Common Era, they congratulated